This is the Off the Break Podcast, your podcast dedicated to current movie theater news, operations, and insights from the people that book the movies. Now, here are your hosts, Cody, Kyle, and Ken.
All right, we're back with another Friday edition of Off the Break Podcast. Don't change the channel if you're on YouTube. Yes, we are in our machine best.
We promise we're not shirtless at all. This is just a shirt.
And if you're listening to this, you can check out the video of the podcast on the YouTube channel. We're wearing our machine shirts, our fat hairy belly man shirts.
The hairiest
awesome.
and fattest we could find. In celebration of the blockbuster of the year, guys.
Yeah.
Bert Kreischer's The Machine.
It's the machine. It's going to be.
We are a little overly enthusiastic about this compared to everyone else in the industry. But
They just don't know. And when you don't know, you don't know.
But we know the truth.
We know.
The Machine was great.
It was.
we'll get into our reviews in a second before you guys are so fired up.
Oh.
Yep, that's right.
We have
that's
an
right.
actual big budget blockbuster film opening this weekend.
Besides the machine?
Yes.
Yeah, which was?
Yeah.
God. You two are going to make me... Oh, we had The Little Mermaid opening this
Oh,
weekend.
Oh.
The Little Mermaid.
Did not already come out once in the 80s?
90s. Wait, no, 80s?
It was-
80s, I think. Yeah,
It
you're
was
right.
89.
Oh my
I think
God.
you're right. Ken's like,
Yeah.
I
There's
hate
such
this
a
already.
migraine already. Opened over 10 million last night for the Thursday previews. That did include some Wednesday top 500 locations that got a one show.
Yeah, like a fan reaction screening show.
Yeah, to get the word of mouth out there.
So really that 10 million is over 2 days.
Yeah. But
But how many people went on Wednesday? Like, how many people heard about that, though?
it's a solid
Right.
number. It's in the realm of Guardians for what the
Mm-hmm.
opening was. They're expecting it to do similar.
Yeah.
115 to 125, and it's going to be a solid movie opening. We'll see what the drop is. That's the biggest concern for us. We know it's going to be solid. It's going to play well. But
right behind it is Spider-Verse, so we've got a lot of kid stuff now. We're not going to see a $1 billion Mario film here.
no, Spider-Verse 2 weeks into Elemental.
Yeah.
We're in the summer now. We're finally hitting our stride.
Look, there's 3 kids movies. Why couldn't we have spread these out a little bit more? Like,
no,
It's always so hard to do. Like, you either spread them out too much, or then you clump them all together.
You
Like,
remember
we
last
need,
summer?
we need that middle.
Minions, DC Super Pets, Paws of Fury.
oh, I know. They
We
all,
Yeah.
had 3 of the 6 PG animated titles come out within 5 weeks of each
I know
other.
they do this, and then they're like, "Oh, I didn't make my money on this kids movie. We're not going to make as many kids movies because they're not making us money." Well, no, you print them on the release schedule at terrible times.
Make them once a month.
You know why Mario
Choose a
got
month,
$1 billion?
studios.
Because there was no kids movies in March or February.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't include January in that because we had Puss in Boots in January.
Carried over, but it was
from
just-
Christmas.
Right.
This incredible need for it in
So-
the market.
2 months, and then you get, oh, weird. People need a kids movie? $1 billion. And then they're like, oh, people
it's-
must really need kids
it's-
movies. Let's put them all
And
here
it's an
and
actual-
nothing.
And it was an actual known property. It wasn't.
Right.
It wasn't some shot in the dark.
No.
You knew it was going to make money. Well, most of us knew it was going to make money. Cody was on the fence about it. Our whole office was actually on the fence about Mario.
Not because I didn't think the movie or the IP was going to make money.
Yeah.
I was on the fence about it for other reasons.
It's not being accurate to the last Mario movie.
Not even that. Not even
It's
that.
going to ruin the sanctity of...
Bob Hoskins, isn't it?
Yeah.
How is this going to work?
How are they ever going to pull this off?
Well, let's get to what you guys actually want to talk about.
Yay!
We went to the Thursday night live stream early show of The Machine.
The machine.
So-
Okay, we're
Say it
going to...
louder with gusto, guys.
We're
The
gonna start-
Machine!
It should have been The Machine.
The Machine!
But that live show was not. It was so bad.
It was a tad bit awkward.
I wish somebody could have texted him and been like, this is not going well for us here in the theater audiences.
Take your shirt off now.
Quick.
I wish we could have texted him to let him know, hey, the camera's on.
Yeah. No,
'Cause I don't think most people did.
no, the camera was on at times when people, I don't think, realized camera and audio were on.
It looked like a public access show.
It did.
Yeah.
Thank you. I've been looking for that thing to like really compare it.
It looked like a public access show. It looked like
an Antiques Roadshow.
Antique Roadshow without the production value.
Right.
It was-
You know, in Antiques Roadshow where they pan all the crowds with their
so the
knickknacks in
old
their
people
hands.
with their walkers going
Yeah.
around with their
And then they go
vase.
as they set
Vase,
up
excuse
for the one that they're going to, talk about, and then they pan to it. Some things come over the screen, and then they quickly pan away back to the crowd. That was this whole live experience.
Yeah. It didn't feel like there was a test run of like, hey,
Not
how
at
should we
all.
cut to different people? How long should interviews last? Like, what do we want to show? Do we want
Right.
to show people having fun or celebrities? Or
I mean, literally, he has a quick back and forth with Mark Hamill, and then is going into the auditorium where they're going to show the film, and he's going to do a short stand-up routine.
Right.
He opens the door. They cut to the camera that's inside the auditorium to pan down. There's someone in the aisle.
A big guy.
They didn't even clear
a
the
big
aisle.
guy in a big red suit.
They didn't even clear the aisle.
I mean,
And the
not,
guy didn't even see Bert coming.
No.
They
And
have
then
a
he-
spotlight on him. He didn't see him coming.
yeah.
he thought this spotlight was for me.
And then he tries to like scurry out of the way, but he's a
400
large
pound-
gentleman.
400 pounds.
And he's like kind of ducked down, and it just looked, I mean, oh, that was bad. That just caps off the 15 minutes prior to that, where it was like that he had this really awesome red carpet where it had like flip cup and axe throwing and like
Food trucks everywhere.
food trucks and drinks, and so tables, and so
Would
it
have been
was
cool in person. I
would
would
have
think.
been really fun red carpet in person. And they just kept doing like a drone footage over it awkwardly.
Oh,
but
drones have better cameras.
yeah, well, whatever this was I think was supposed to be that. And then they had an interview area where they were supposed to interview cast and stars as they came, but the guy would ask a question, the person would answer, and then would just cut it off. Like, cut it
the
off.
most awkward time. There wasn't any leeway of like, thank you for talking about this.
Yeah,
Go and
transition.
have a transition. Nope,
But-
just straight
Oh.
It was
hard cut.
yes. The live event was poorly executed,
Mm-hmm.
but I want to see more of this. I want this to be the first one that was bad,
Yes.
and then the second one, the next one they do with whoever it is a little bit better.
No.
and a little bit better. And I want Tom Cruise to do one of these before Mission
Oh my
Impossible,
gosh.
where he does a
Yeah.
live stream and he goes through and introduces people and talks to people, and then he goes into the theater and lights himself on fire in a tux, and then he goes up on stage and thanks everybody for
Naturally.
being there,
Right.
and then the movie starts.
Right. That's
Like, we need more of that.
Maybe
It
for
was-
5 minutes, not for 15.
Yeah,
But it was such a good idea, and I think his original idea was that you would follow him through it,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, all right, because he started the thing. He was there. He's like, okay, let's go, and then it just cut away, and you never caught back
Cut
up
away
with him.
to us looking at heads.
Yeah.
Playing
And
axe
then
throwing.
You didn't catch back up with him, and then you kind of did, but it was. And then there was some times where they would show people on that, and then they would show the interview, and you're like, they didn't get there right away. So it is cut back in time or forward in time in a weird way. But I
Yeah.
think the idea of it was so good, and it just was so poorly
they could have
executed.
done his, like, it didn't actually need to be live.
No,
live,
it shouldn't
live.
have been live.
I mean, it could have been an hour tape delay. It could have been any of these things, so they could produce it appropriately. His performance on stage could have been live. They could have
Yes.
done that particularly live. But everything else, I mean, they go into the auditorium and it was 70% empty.
Yeah, I would
Because
never.
everybody was outside because all the stuff was going on outside.
It was still
Yeah.
fun, and the movie
They
hadn't
didn't-
started
they didn't
yet.
even realize that there was a movie. There were people walking
Right.
by like, what is this craziness?
He should have done his thank you outside with because that's where everybody was at.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they weren't in the auditorium, and so it was kind of sad to be at his premiere and not see that full auditorium. And you knew it wasn't full
Yeah.
because there was so much fun happening outside. But it's like, okay, cut off the fun, make everybody come in.
But we were in Montana in a theater that was 70% full.
Yeah.
Everybody was very eager to see the movie. They did the right thing and had a live stream directly into the film.
Yeah.
They didn't try to play Spider-Verse trailers. They
Oh,
just,
yeah,
they
that
just,
was
I was getting really nervous when
Yeah.
when the transition wasn't happening right away. They're like, oh no, they're loading trailers now.
Ken was
Yeah.
freaking out.
I was getting nervous. I was getting nervous that they were going to
He was like,
screw
I'm
this
telling
up.
you guys,
After the live, they were going to screw it up even more.
Right.
But
it's got to happen.
But they got it together, and
I
so
think we got a taste of a format that would make early shows, early premieres, that fun, huge experience.
No, that's what I was saying.
Totally.
Even for any movie.
For any movie,
Insidious, you take whoever the main character is and have them talk for 15 minutes about the film.
Right.
Introduce the other actors.
Oh my gosh.
Something.
The Little Mermaid
Anything.
had stars bring their kids in these beautiful gowns, and that, as a mama, would have been so fun if I was bringing kids to see. Would be like all these dressed up and mermaid characters, and like you could really think of, because they have already spent this money. They've already spent this money at this premiere. All you're adding is the recorded element, which is probably happening.
Yeah, it happens anyway.
You're just fashioning
Pictures,
it.
videos, yeah.
But they're putting it in other channels. Put it in the theater.
Right. Why are you just allowing people in LA to experience this? Broadcast it out. Get people in Montana, in, Iowa, get them into that experience and get them back into loving Hollywood again.
I mean, the people around us, I think, still enjoyed the experience, even when we were like, this seems pretty clunky. Everyone else was like, hey, Gabriel Iglesias. Like,
Right. Oh my gosh, that's Tom Segura. Bert's crying on Tom's shoulder right now.
Which is, hey, that's great. Like,
Right.
It was working for others, clearly.
All right. Well, passing the live stream and the fact that we can make this better. We can make Hollywood great again. The three of us.
We need to.
All on our own.
Change the release schedule and add
obviously.
these. Oh my god. We already have a platform.
What did you think of the movie, Kyle?
Let's start with Kyle. We'll go around the circle.
I thought it was very funny. It actually wound up being funnier than I thought it would be, just because as much as I enjoy Bert Kreischer, the comedian, I just don't know if the translation would go to film very well. But I think he did a good job at least incorporating not just his comedy style, but also just, I think, a general comedy style that most audiences can enjoy into a film script and put that up on the screen. So I think just as a fan, I really liked it. But as a casual moviegoer, I don't see why you would feel alienated from enjoying this movie, I don't think.
No, I really enjoyed it, obviously, because all three of us are Bert fans, but it was different enough. Like, I felt like the director and the DP did an awesome job of making it look different. Like, every shot was 20% closer than any other film you've seen recently.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
The color was turned up, like, just a little bit. Like, everything was a little bit brighter, a little more vibrant than it was. Whenever there were subtitles on the screen, they weren't on the bottom of the screen in white. They were huge red, black subtitles.
They were, they made it feel fun.
They made it look like a comic book. And then,
give it a pop.
Spoiler alert, when he turns into the machine at the end by pounding an entire bottle of vodka. And they go into the Popeye comic book mode.
Yeah.
Was just, you knew it was going to happen, but it was just so awesome.
Yeah, I really liked its very goofy nature to have it be like a comedic cinematic feel to it, but there was attempts at having some heart to it that I thought were good, not great, but I thought that they were pretty good to where a casual moviegoer would be like, yeah, I can buy into this. I can buy into this story.
When it first starts, it was a little weird seeing him on screen, and I was like, I don't know if he's going to translate well. But as the movie progressed, I think he must have got more experience or something, because I think he relaxed and with the action came into his own better. So by the end of the movie, I was like believing that he could be a movie star, like that he's an actor, and it just felt better down the road. It wasn't just him in the therapist's office was a little I don't know, like
awkwardly
awkward.
staged.
Yeah.
A little clunky.
It was clunky.
Well, you're putting him in a box. He's better in space where he can move around.
He is, yes.
You're putting him in a 10x10 room.
But like most comedians, like they can get a feel of the
camera.
room. They can walk around the stage. They can tell jokes that are not necessarily scripted, but also like on the cusp, on the fly as well. Right. So obviously making that jump, especially, not like a smaller movie, like this had a budget behind it. Yeah. It would make sense why not just Bird, but any comedian like Sebastian Janikowski has his own movie coming out too. Is that his last name?
No, but
Sebastian,
I loved it.
What is it? Sebastian
Maniscalco.
Maniscalco.
But I
Janikowski was the kicker for the Raiders.
That's what it was. That's amazing.
He was the fat. He was the kicker for the Raiders that looked like
as
this.
soon as I said it, I was like, that doesn't sound right. It sounded right in my head, but I'm sure even in his movie, like you can kind of see that adjustment going on.
So if you're up for an R-rated comedy,
and I would say it wasn't. The trailer makes it look like it's going to be like really bloody and action and like over the top. It really wasn't. I was thinking it was more tame than what the trailer led you to believe. And I do think that a lot of people are like, oh, rated R, Memorial Weekend, this isn't going to work. But it really isn't that bad. Like I would take my dad to see it.
It was less gory than Cocaine Bear was.
So way less gory than Cocaine Bear.
And we felt like Cocaine Bear needed to be turned up a notch to fit its title.
Yeah, and I'm sure that some people thought that it was coming across as raunchy as well, which we're kind of trying to figure out now if not just comedies, but also raunchy comedies can make a comeback to theaters. And even for this one, I know Bird was saying like it's really gonna go hard. I didn't feel
like it went hard,
but that also could be because we know of his comedy style.
But he's not that messed up. Like his comedy's not messed up. It's not. He doesn't go overly sexualized or anything like that. It's comedy. Not dark. No. Yeah. So the film really reflects that level, but there's not like a lot of sex stuff in it, and the violence is there, but it's kind of minimal.
It's stylized, and it's.
There's one messed up scene with his hand going in the guy's neck, but other than that, like I felt like, but it was like so absurd that it was you wanted to laugh at it.
Yeah, you played it up for the laughs for sure.
Mm-hmm. So I really enjoyed this movie, and I would definitely want to see it again. Like I feel like it's a movie like any like comedy, especially R-rated comedies that live with you, and then you start just making jokes about it.
I could see that
down the road. Like it gives you so much fodder for inside jokes. It's awesome.
Yeah, and Sony deserves a little bit of a win after the last several weeks.
They really need
before Spider-Verse. It would be nice for them to be like, oh, that was a pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
Now here's $100 million for Spider-Man.
I would like to. I'd like them to get a win on a film that's not a Spider-Man film.
Yeah, and have it be something that's completely offbeat and build off of these. And build off of people that genuinely want to promote their film.
Yeah. Yeah. And aren't going to sit and not do the press thing or just be in their white ivory towers in LA being like, my mental health can't take a press tour. Like, stupid. But it was good. We really enjoyed the movie.
Speaking of in ivory towers.
Yeah.
Which one do you guys want to start with?
Well, I was going to talk about Kyle's topic that he brought in, which was the from the Cannes Film Festival, them requesting that trigger warnings appear before films.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. From Variety, an opinion piece was suggesting that trigger warnings should start appearing before the beginning of a movie. And their reasoning behind it was that after the experience of seeing independent films at Cannes to where they go in completely blind and then it's revealed that they're being shown really tough to watch subject matter.
Yeah, the disturbing imagery was a teenager eating their own vomit.
That was one of the examples, yes.
I feel like that wasn't on the scale of things the most disturbing thing they could have seen that needed a warning.
No, we did see that in the machine.
Yeah.
Choking back vomit.
Choking back vomit and then putting it in his pocket. She's like, did you just put that in your pocket?
Well, it's funny that we're making that comparison with that to the machine.
Oh my gosh.
Because after describing all of these different
it's horrifying.
horrifying scenes that they were seeing in these movies,
several of them did happen in the machine.
Yeah. But later on the article, the writer says that not only are these types of hard subject matters being shown in independent cinema, such as what is seen at Cannes, but it's also being shown in our blockbusters, to which I thought, no.
Until last night.
I don't think there is. They did give an example of The Last Duel, which, yes, had a lot of money behind it, and yes, did have hard subject matter
had a
to
rape
watch.
Scene
yeah,
that you saw over and over again.
I wouldn't count that as a blockbuster because no one went to see it. No one probably saw it on streaming either, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, they really hit that movie, if you remember how the release went for it.
Well, it was
2
one of
years
those
ago.
weird Fox titles that Disney purchased Fox and got the title, and then didn't want that to be associated with
Right.
Disney, so they released it under 20th Century.
Yeah.
It was a mess.
Yeah.
It was a mess. But also, Ken made a really good point that it's in the synopsis. She is raped in the synopsis, and that sets off all the events in the movie. Like, I don't know where you need a trigger warning if you read the synopsis of the movie you're seeing.
Yeah, this writer's experience as Can is very different compared to the general audience's experiences with other movies. For one thing, at Cannes, as I mentioned earlier, you're going in completely blind. You're not knowing what these types of movies are or what these movies are about, but you do know that this is very small scale independent movies that are trying to get bought by studios, and some of them don't have barriers from distributors or
Right.
investors, so they are able to go as free as they want to. Meanwhile, most people watch these blockbuster titles that do have those restrictions, so you're not necessarily going to get subject matters shown as hardcore as was being
Right.
shown at Cannes.
This makes me laugh. This reminds me of Infinity Pool in like January.
Yeah.
Where they showed it at a film festival the weekend before it was supposed to premiere.
Yeah.
But they showed the X-rated version.
Yes.
And it caused cancellations across the board.
Oh my gosh. I had locations cancel after that.
Because it was so graphic that like people were reporting back like that was
They're like,
that
we
was
don't
horrifying.
we don't need this.
Yeah.
The thing was,
film
you
critics were
didn't
saying
need to
we
have
didn't
it.
need this.
Yeah.
And they didn't tell anybody either. If they would have prefaced it with like, this is the director's cut, different than the theatrical cut. I
Yeah.
mean, they basically screwed the pooch on that one. It
Listen,
was really weird.
Yeah.
There is something about going to the movie and being surprised along the way. That is part of the experience.
Every movie has to have
that. Yeah, you need to go in, let everything go away. It's the escapism and just be shown and taken on a journey.
Yeah.
But where does this come to play practically for theater owners? You know, you can trade screen all these movies. They all, by law, have to be trade screened. And as an exhibitor, you're allowed to go to those. Now, their trade screenings are of various places across the country. There's none in Montana ever. It's not like there's one in every state.
Right.
So you have to go,
They're very few and far between.
yeah, they're very few, far between, and it's one day, one showing. So they limit it because it's an expensive endeavor, but they're all trade screenable. So if you ever have questions about content, you're allowed to go see it before you ever book that movie. And we always, as bookers, have always kind of given our theater owners a heads up. Hey, this movie has a rape scene in it. Hey, there's a lot of language, but not a lot of violence. Like when we explain the rating system, we are always kind of given a hint about what could be in there.
This is a language R. This
Yeah.
is a violence R. There is an incredible amount of nudity
There's
in
a
this.
or there's a same-sex relationship. You might get some people upset. Like we just get some heads up, but we
That's
do
new
that.
from 2021
That is new.
or 2022.
That was never a thing before, but it is now. So I
Yeah,
always
unfortunately.
give my owners a heads up just because they will get feedback, and whether it's good or bad, backlash or positive from their audience about some of that stuff. And you just want to be, forewarned is forearmed, or however the saying goes. So,
Janikowski.
yeah.
That's how you pronounce
Yeah,
it.
I think that's how it was. So it's good to have, but you do that as an owner. You don't want to ruin the experience for the audience, because they're all adults. There is a fly-by-night rating system that we've all grown up and lived with for the past 30 years. And if it's R-rated, there's going to be something that only adults should see in it. So
Yeah.
I don't know why somebody would need a trigger warning for anything. That just, to me,
That they need that heads up.
it is a hurdle to going to see the film. It just puts up a barrier like, oh, you might not enjoy this.
Yeah, I also will add on that in today's day and age, we can have the ability to get a sense of what these movies are about, not just with trailers and marketing and being able to get
Right.
marketing so up close to us on our phones, but just you can look up interviews, be able to look up a past director's work, just give yourself people don't really want to do that much research. I understand, but even just a headline or two can give you a sense of whether the movie is gonna do right by you or whether you think it's gonna affect you in the wrong ways. So I think by having that extra warning, it's not necessary, because as adults you have the sense to be able to figure out for yourself and look up and research whether a movie is right for you.
And I hate to say this, but it is a time-honored tradition that if you get really upset at a movie, you are able to walk out of it.
Yeah.
You do not have to sit there and be subjected to it if you don't want to.
Yeah.
So don't ruin it for everybody else. Don't market it to put up barriers around it. Get up and leave.
Right.
Take some personal responsibility for that.
Right.
No, and my thought on this was the idea of these epic films where a planet is destroyed, a la Independence Day, where all of a sudden a planet blows up. So what is your trigger warning for a planet blows up? Trigger warning, planet blows up. Multiple, LGBTQ people were killed. Children are murdered.
Babies.
Dogs are murdered.
Casualties
Babies.
of all races and gender identities.
But no, you're making it too general.
Non-binary
now.
My
persons of color were executed. What are we looking for here?
Right.
We need to save everyone. Do we need to go into every single species in case someone has a spider monkey at home that they really care about?
Oh my gosh.
That feels like that type of description that would go too far in the blockbuster sense. Because you're having to, because with 4 quadrant movies, you already are trying to cover so many facets of current audiences that it almost becomes a distraction onto the movie anyway.
Right.
We've talked about this before.
I didn't even think about this when obviously in these epic films, when the Americans win, not the Earthlings, the Americans.
Yeah.
Of
win,
course.
because the French can't win, but the Americans win, and we kill the aliens. Do we then have to put a trigger warning out that aliens are murdered in this film?
Hey, just in case aliens could be real,
Right.
it's becoming more and more likely.
You don't want to offend aliens.
In case if they come across this, or bad guys. It was a different time.
I know. It's just.
I think it's okay
sad.
with television or when movies are on cable, because there's already ratings to begin with, and if you're just coming across the channel, maybe if you're going on to the next thing.
The most specific thing I've ever seen in the film ratings thing is smoking and drinking alcohol.
Right.
But I just don't feel like that's even needed. Do we even need a trigger warning for smoking anymore?
I don't think that in all honesty, I don't think trigger warnings would go to that extent, but I think it's for more other types of subject matter.
What would be the warning then? That's what I'm saying.
Don't,
it has
but
to.
But then you probably wouldn't have that and just have the rating be.
That's what I'm
the
saying. We
drinking,
have
smoking.
ratings with reasons. We always put a rating in and what the reason is, and it's usually pretty standard language. Some violence, some nudity, blah blah blah. So, but what this author was saying was we should have even more warning,
right?
And so you would have to then view the film and get specific on that. So the absurdity of what the specific is makes it laughable, but
No,
that's
I agree.
what they're asking for.
But I'm
Yeah,
not offended by
totally.
smoking, but men in sandals, I really don't want to see.
Is it socks and sandals or just sandals in
It's
general?
just
Sandals and men's toes, yeah.
Gotcha.
Hairy
I don't,
men's
I don't
toes.
need to see that.
They're not great.
Yeah.
Why did I say that?
Anyone who wears their nipples in their armpits like Kyle is currently doing,
What's
we
wrong
don't
with
need that.
Yeah.
So that's where they always are.
Don't
You
judge
want to
me.
point and straight ahead, not to the sides.
I can look however I want to look. Thank you.
Or your nipples could look however they want to look.
Yeah. Don't judge me for what I am.
What if it's one up, one down?
They have a mind of their own at that point.
Yeah.
Do you think we've spoken enough about this
Yeah.
odd topic and just move on
It
to
was
another
so
one?
weird. Was it on IndieWire that put it out, or?
No, I saw it coming from Variety.
Ugh, Variety should know better. Don't give those lunatics a platform. Stupid.
But we can talk about
Yeah.
IndieWire, because that's the article I got from this next topic.
Yeah, no, speaking of lunatics, the people in this room have said this many, many, many times. Playing a film in theaters legitimizes it for all audiences.
And
Not only theater
all,
audiences,
yeah.
but home audiences. And lo and behold, Sony and Lionsgate are killing it on home VOD services after a theatrical release.
And guess what? They're not limiting it to just 17 days, Universal.
Yeah.
They give it real runs.
Sisu is still having a legitimate theatrical run still.
Oh, they don't put Mario on VOD when it's number 2 in the country?
Yeah.
And it's made $1 billion.
And then get mad at you when you're like, I don't think I want to play this anymore.
Well, why not? Well, because you
it's-
put it at home.
Oh, don't you even bring that up. Don't you bring that up. That has no effect on the theatrical.
Well,
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
we have Sony and Lionsgate showing us otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, but IndieWire just put out another article making the observation that when it comes to Sony and Lionsgate, unlike them making their own streaming services, they're proving that with the correct theatrical model and doing proper promotion there, that when it comes to them landing on VOD services, then they're getting a lot of grosses from it as a result.
Mm-hmm.
Like most of the VOD platforms have a Sony or a Lionsgate movie now in like the top 5 of what's being downloaded and played.
I mean, on Netflix, Uncharted was in the top 10 for like 4 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think what's also interesting in that article is that they talked about how they're now not keeping it just on their streaming platforms. So even Universal and Disney, they're putting them still on Prime and other, like, so they're spreading it out for the VOD aspect of it, just to catch that wider net on that audience.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I don't think living in their own ecosystems is really working out for them financially.
I have to go on a little tangent here.
Go for it.
Read Kyle's notes.
Yeah.
And it says theatrical releases matter. Props up movie at home. But I was reading this with like the wrong emphasis on a different syllable, and I was like, props up. Is that like lit or?
I thought I read it that
like,
way too.
Props up.
Props to them.
Props up, homie. Like
Yeah.
I was like, what is he talking about here? I could not put it together in my head.
I didn't mean it in that sense, but
No,
I'm pretty
you-
sure props to
I think you just needed the word witch in there. Which props up the
which props up.
Yeah.
Sure, I mean, this is shorthand. It doesn't matter.
Props
Well,
up.
apparently it does.
Why are, you,
It's a
why are you guys
period
judging my
props.
shorthand and our outlines that no one
Props up,
sees?
witch. Props up, witches.
You know,
Janislawski.
that old thing.
Kyle's come up with his own slang out here.
Janislawska,
That'll
whatever his
you guys
name is.
you guys remember that 2000 slang term?
I
Yeah.
Props
know.
up witches.
I know. It's throwing me off.
Sounds like a Disney Channel.
It was a series that ran for 9 years.
Yeah.
That
Props up witches will be right back.
everybody born between 2002 and 2004 really identifies with,
Yeah.
The witches dance. We know what show that is.
but no one else has ever heard of.
What, you never heard of it before?
We Lit Fam starred.
No, because we were in high school at that time. We were big kids.
Yeah, you guys were cool. I get it.
So cool.
Yeah. Cool in
Early 2000s high schoolers.
cool in our sweet outfits.
Look at us now. No, this is fun. I'm enjoying this.
I came up with this idea, and Kyle was like, "Oh man, we have to do this."
Yep. And then
Codi-
they came in the office and they just sat in a bag for a while. Like, Kyle didn't even get him, look at him, get him out
I
of the
didn't
bag.
lose it.
I was adequately prepared for the
I
machine.
thought we could have worn him last night to the machine, and nobody was with me on that. It's like, oh,
Oh no, I
fine.
would have gone home.
He was so embarrassed. I don't know why. Everybody's facing forward. They're not going to be looking at us.
Well, they might a little.
I don't think it's dark, Kyle. Nobody. Have you ever noticed anything anybody's ever worn in a movie theater?
Before and after, but not during, because I'm paying attention to the movie.
Exactly. So what would you have been embarrassed by?
Before and after. This makes a lot of sense to me.
Gone home. Kyle.
No, this was a really fun time, and the movie was a really great comedy as well. We need more
Yeah.
comedies in theaters, and I'm glad
Way more.
Bert brought that up on his live stream as well. More comedies, and especially giving more comedians chances like this, because
To
a
make
lot
the
of them-
content they want to make.
yeah, a lot of them have, I'm sure, really great ideas for giving movies out to the public.
Yeah.
Yeah, but everybody who has a comedy special, it has a trust of a production company to keep someone entertained for 60 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
There is a very small leap to move that to 90 minutes and make it a
Right.
feature film.
Yeah.
It's not much of a difference. It's
Yeah.
like, we need a script. Oh, what? They're basically reading a script.
Yeah.
Like, let's take some chances here on people that already have followings that people already find interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Priyanka Chopra reading someone else's lines obviously doesn't work. So let's find somebody who writes and performs and put them on screen.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm all about that. That came out weird.
At first I was thinking, a Canadian joke, but I was like, no one in our conversation is Canadian.
Yeah, we definitely didn't.
It just weirdly came out.
We definitely didn't do our own machine version last night and party too hard.
Yeah.
Cody definitely didn't go out and have
Had 2 cocktails afterwards. I was like, Kyle, I told our sitter that I would be back at 11. So when we got out at like 9:30,
started at 7:00, and Cody told the sitter we'll be home at 11 o'clock. I'm like, how long did you think this movie was?
I don't know. I wasn't thinking, but guess what? I got to have 2 cocktails afterwards.
But to be fair, most movies are 2.5 hours long.
Right.
Like
it's
understandable.
Which is 9:30 if you do
9:30,
basic
and
math.
that's when we got
okay,
out.
so it would have been
But-
like 10, maybe.
right.
But we did figure out in the office, Cody does struggle with basic math this morning. Trying to figure out per screen averages.
Yeah, we were trying.
At least Ken and I have an excuse. We're morons.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Morons.
Besides Little Mermaid's $10 million early show, Thursday shows, we couldn't find any for About My Father or The Machine. So we were trying to figure out how well it did, and
Based on our locations, based on averages.
So we took our location, we took a per screen average, and then we know that they did about 2,400 prints around the country on each of these films. So we estimated on our per screen average about what that would be, and we came out that Machine might do around $600,000, and About My Father might do around $450,000. But it could be more. That was just a very down and dirty. We were just trying to find numbers.
Yeah.
We were like, we'll make them up ourselves.
So take that for what it's worth.
Yeah. Guess what? It made money on Thursday night.
Literally making up numbers.
Yeah.
None of those numbers we discussed in the office prior to this. Cody just made these up again. Oh my God.
No, we didn't. We did. I wrote it down. I was in your office.
It's on the paper.
Yeah.
Car ramrod.
I didn't
I
look
wrote
at
it on
the
the
paper.
paper.
Yeah. See, Ken? Written on the paper. Car ramrod.
On that note, everybody have a great weekend. Get out and support this strange slate of films we have with Mermaid 2, comedian-driven comedies, and Kandahar starring Gerard Butler.
Oh, yeah. We forgot about that one. But that one is going to do really well, too. So.
Yeah.
Really well?
Really well. Because I booked it places.
Blockbuster of the year.
We have
I can only 2 Machine.
We have 2 blockbusters of the year coming out this weekend.
Hey, that doesn't happen very often.
Both of which are going to open to less than 10 million.
No. It's going to surprise everybody.
Yeah.
I'm still tooting that horn.
Yeah, we'll be optimistic, guys.
Yeah, we'll talk about it next week.
On that note, I'm out of here. Bye, everybody.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you for listening to Off the Break Podcast. Find us on all podcast platforms or at screeninsider.co. And be sure to like and follow our Facebook and Instagram pages at Off the Break Podcast.